Starting July 2nd, a major change is coming for Alberta travelers, drivers, and anyone who uses provincial identification. Alberta is rolling out a new 3-in-1 identification card that combines several important functions into a single document. And while it may seem like a simple redesign, it has already sparked discussion among residents about both the benefits and potential drawbacks. For years, Albertans have carried separate documents for different purposes. A driver's license proved identity and driving privileges. A paper health card was used for healthcare services. Additional documents were often needed to verify citizenship for certain government programs. Now Alberta is bringing much of that information together into one modernized card. Under the new system, eligible residents renewing or applying for a driver's license or identification card will receive a redesigned card that can include their driver's license or provincial ID, their personal health number, and for eligible individuals, an indicator showing Canadian citizenship status. The goal is to simplify services, reduce paperwork, improve security, and eliminate the need to carry multiple pieces of identification. For travelers, that could mean one less thing to worry about when preparing for a trip. Think about how often identification is used while traveling. Whether you're boarding a domestic flight, checking into a hotel, renting a vehicle, verifying your identity during an emergency, or accessing services while away from home, government-issued identification is one of the most important items in your wallet. The new Alberta card is designed to make that process easier by consolidating important information into a single secure document. One of the biggest changes is the inclusion of a personal health number. Traditionally, Albertans carried a separate paper health card for healthcare services. With the new system, eligible residents can have that health number integrated directly onto their driver's license or provincial identification card. For travelers, this could provide added convenience during road trips and vacations within Canada. If an unexpected medical situation occurs while away from home, having important identification and health information on one card may simplify the process of verifying identity and health coverage. Another significant addition is the citizenship indicator. Eligible Canadian citizens who provide the required documentation can have a citizenship marker added to their card. Provincial officials say the feature is intended to simplify access to programs and services that require proof of Canadian citizenship. However, this feature has also generated debate. Some residents see it as a convenient way to verify eligibility without carrying additional paperwork. Others have raised concerns that displaying citizenship status on a commonly used identification card could potentially lead to situations where people are treated differently based on whether the marker appears on their card. Some critics argue that permanent residents, temporary residents, newcomers, or even eligible citizens who choose not to add the marker could potentially face additional questions in certain situations because their cards may look different. They worry that the feature could unintentionally create opportunities for discrimination or unequal treatment if people begin making assumptions based on whether the citizenship marker is present. Supporters of the change argue that the marker is designed only to simplify access to services that already require proof of citizenship, and that safeguards can help prevent misuse. They also point out that participation requires verification and is intended to reduce the need for carrying separate documents. For travelers, it is important to understand what the new card does not do. It is not a passport replacement. International travelers will still need the appropriate travel documents when crossing borders or boarding international flights. The new Alberta identification card is designed for identification and provincial service purposes, not international travel. For domestic air travelers, airline and airport identification requirements remain unchanged. Passengers flying within Canada will still need valid government-issued identification. The new card simply provides a more modern and secure form of that identification. Security has also been a major focus of the redesign. The updated cards include enhanced security features intended to make them more resistant to fraud and counterfeiting. As identity theft and document fraud continue to be concerns around the world, governments are increasingly investing in stronger identification systems. At the same time, not everyone views the change in exactly the same way. Some residents have raised privacy concerns about combining more personal information onto a single piece of identification. Their concern is that if the card is lost or stolen, more information could potentially be exposed than with separate documents. Others point out that combining multiple functions onto a single card creates a different type of risk. If someone loses the card while traveling, they could temporarily lose access to several important forms of identification at the same time, instead of just one document. Imagine being hundreds of kilometers from home on a road trip and discovering that the card containing your primary identification and health information is missing. Some Albertans simply prefer keeping different forms of identification separate and question whether combining them provides enough advantages to justify the change. Supporters, however, argue that the convenience of carrying fewer documents, combined with enhanced security features and stronger identity verification processes, outweighs those concerns. They believe the new system reflects the way modern identification is evolving and will make everyday interactions more efficient. The rollout reflects a broader trend toward modernized identification systems. Around the world, governments are looking for ways to simplify access to services while improving security and reducing administrative complexity. Alberta's new card is another step in that direction. For frequent travelers, the convenience factor may be the most noticeable benefit. Instead of carrying a driver's license, a paper health card, and potentially other supporting documents, many Albertans will eventually be able to carry a single card containing multiple forms of verified information. The transition will happen gradually. Existing driver's licenses and identification cards remain valid until their regular renewal dates. As residents renew their cards over the coming years, the new versions will become increasingly common throughout the province. The change also marks the beginning of the gradual phase-out of Alberta's long-standing paper health cards. For generations, those paper cards have been a familiar part of everyday life. As the new identification system expands, the paper version will eventually become far less common. For anyone planning road trips through Alberta this year, the change may not immediately affect travel plans, but it is an important development to be aware of. Over time, the new cards will become the standard form of provincial identification for millions of residents. The biggest takeaway is simple. Beginning July 2nd, Alberta is launching a new 3-in-1 identification card that combines multiple forms of verified information into a single secure document. Supporters see it as a practical modernization that reduces paperwork and makes identification easier to manage. Critics worry about privacy, data concentration, the possibility of discrimination related to citizenship markers, and the consequences of losing a card that now serves multiple purposes. It won't replace a passport, it won't change airline security requirements, and it won't eliminate the need for proper travel documents. But it could change how millions of Albertans carry and use identification while traveling, accessing services, and going about their daily lives. As travel continues to evolve and governments modernize identification systems, Alberta's new 3-in-1 card represents one of the most significant identification changes the province has seen in years. Whether you view it as a convenience, a security improvement, or a change that raises important questions about privacy and personal information, it is a development worth understanding before your next trip.